Okay, so real quick, like before I start, I honestly took like 4 takes to get this, so I need to get my poop in a group. Okay, well, as I was going to say, welcome to Back to Sean's Wild World, and here's another installment on the playlist of The Kingdom, a look into amazing wild lives. And you guys decided you wanted to see a video about the evolutionary trade, the extreme, that's important, evolutionary trade-off that cheetahs took to get to where they are today. What we know. Well, let's dive straight in and let's make this really cool. Because I will say, when I did the research on this, it was actually really interesting. Like I learned a lot of stuff, so hopefully I can teach you guys a lot of stuff. Well, with all that randomness in the middle, just a little bit of randomness, let's dive straight into this. So, before we can get on to what a cheetah actually is now, we have to go into what it was. So, um, thousands and first ice age times, there was the Bering Land Bridge, and that's how, if you're from North America, you know that's the way that Native Americans crossed over. Well, this was long before they crossed over, so this is before that. That was I believe the second land bridge. Well, it showed up a few different times during ice ages. Well, so first one, that's where you had a few animals crossed over, and that kind of started the animal life in Western Hemisphere. So you had a few deer species. That's also where we got camels, but that's for a later video. That's long after this. A few things, and also that's where you start to get cats that moved into the Western Hemisphere. And among those cats was a small, I believe it was the ancient relative to, well, I believe it was like a very ancient version of a leopard that moved across from what is now Russia to what is now Alaska and into North America. So it came across, and that started the whole feline family of the Western world. Yay! Now we have cats. I don't really like. I'm not a cat person, but anyways, yay! Now we have cats. So they moved through and dominated every single place that they went to. There's not a single cat species that isn't the top predator wherever they live. You don't find that. They don't get removed from where they're from because they're so adaptable. And none are more adaptable than the leopard. So, leopard moved through and it changed, it evolved into multiple different forms, giving us what we know in North America as the mountain lion, cougar, puma, Florida panther, I think that's what it's called. Florida panther, and I'm trying to name 5 of them. 5 different names for this. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna think of it. It's gonna be really random, but and that's what we got then. And so, ancient relative to today's mountain lions was a leopard. Yay, that's cool. But the world of North America back then looked similar but different than it does now. For example, back then, what we know of as the Great Plains, where you get snow and wind and rain, used to look just like the African savanna. Oklahoma would look more or less like Kenya does now, because it had a whole bunch of the trees and tons of grassland space to allow for that. And that's where we bring in our cheetah. So the American cheetah, the first cheetah, evolved from that. It started out as the basically mountain lion shape, and it traded off a lot of things to get to where it could really take over the plains. Because the problem with the plains, there's not many hiding places. Yeah, you could hide in the grass, but that won't work so well. So the cheetah uses a different method, as we've most likely seen watching just random documentaries, YouTube videos, or just looking at anything that it has to do with a cheetah. You see it walk as close as it can to prey, and then it bolts at up to 65 to 70 miles per hour. Depends on what you read as to what they say, because Sorry. Some sources say 70, some sources say 65. So it's a very varying wow number as to how fast they move. But we do know this: they're definitely the fastest land animal. So how'd they get to that state? It takes a lot. As anyone who does track knows, it takes a lot of work to get to that sort of height. And they did a lot. For example, the first thing, one of the many things that they lost was the ability to retract their claws completely. As you look at any cat, it has these the cuteness, the little fuzzies on their toes that conceal their claws and basically keep them from wearing down. And then when they need them, they can pull their claws out to catch something or rip up a jacket if you have it hanging up in a room. Sad face. So you have cats that have their retractable claws, but cheetahs, they evolved to sort of lose that a little bit. They can only retract theirs so much, so the ends of their claws are really dull. But they did that to get more traction, help them run just that little bit faster, sort of like cleats on track runners. Another thing that they lost was the ability to turn their wrist, making it really a little bit harder for them to climb trees than any other cat. Now, I find this, in my opinion, extremely ironic, seeing how one of their distant relatives were leopards, who are amazing tree climbers, and a cheetah isn't that not perfect, but aligned for it. But that was also another way to help them run, and also keep them from twisting something accidentally when running to where they basically break their bone. Another thing is, in losing their ability to turn their wrist, their what is it called? Radius and ulna. The radius and ulna, I don't know why I had to think of what it was called after I said it, but have almost completely fused together to become just one bone. And that helps them. It's a lot less work in running, and it limits all the turning ability, and it just sort of gives them that another extra bonus into running. Another thing they lost was their weight. If you look at a cheetah compared to any other big cat, they're extremely skinny and really small, and they have no real chance if there was a fight. That's the truth. So when you have a cheetah and, for example, say nowadays a lion, it's like, hey, so sees a cheetah, I don't like you. Unless the cheetah is at full health and can just sprint off, it has no chance. It's practically dead meat. And that was another thing they lost, because they had to focus all of their weight, everything they do, into just being able to run fast enough to catch prey. They had to lose the ability to really defend themselves in a lot of situations. So they don't have a true fight response, it's just flight. The only time they'll attempt in fighting another cat is if they're going against each other, where it's more or less a fair fight. And another physical adaptation that they made were their lungs. Now, compared to other big cat lungs, theirs are, I think it was, now don't completely quote me on this because I read from a few different sites. One site said almost double the size of some other big cats. Because they're running, they have to be able to process oxygen much faster because they're using a whole lot of the quick action muscles. And so they've got to be able to keep all of this up. They've got to keep their whole body aerated. I guess that's the word. I feel like that's wrong, but it makes sense. They have to be able to keep their body aerated and just sort of not die while they're running. Which brings me to my next point. When you put so many things in the basket to get something, there are there are a few problems. One problem being, well, we've already gone over, they can't really defend themselves because their bones are really small to make them lighter to run faster. They don't have much muscle mass to make them lighter to run faster. They have larger lungs to help them breathe faster. And their heart is super powered to sort of work at a fast rate. But with that, they can only run for a max of, I think it was 37 seconds at top speed, or literally their heart gives out. So they have 37 seconds to run and catch prey. Now, I will say, like you would say, that's extremely unfair, but it's fair considering all the stuff that they gave up. And there's even more I haven't gotten to yet, but still. Considering all the things they gave up, that's actually pretty fair. Also considering the fact that cheetahs have, of other big cats, the highest kill rate. I believe it's 1 in every 3 kills. 1 in every 3 hunts is a successful kill. So, they have a pretty high success rate. It's much higher than lions, which is 1 in 5. And, I mean, we say that lions have a better rate because there's many of them. Not exactly. I mean, it depends on how they hunt. Cheetahs, they don't use any real method that we think of with other cats except for line up and bolt. Oh, that was another thing. Cheetahs, and I don't know why it's like this, but what they'll do is they will not eat anything they didn't kill. Now, this can pose a lot of problems, especially on the energy side. So, if you need, say a cheetah is extremely hungry, hasn't eaten in over a week, and it passes a dead zebra, just say hyenas killed a zebra, didn't finish it, left it, cheetah's walking through, sees it, it's extremely hungry, it won't eat it. Cheetahs will refuse to eat anything they don't kill. So that poses a big problem when they need food, but they can't catch food, but there's a whole lot of food around. And I'm not sure why, and if someone can find that out, because I couldn't figure any reason why, but because I'm like, you need it, you almost dead, you need to eat. So, if someone could find that out, that'd be amazing. One of the other things that I found out about them was cheetahs cannot roar. So they aren't officially big cats. They're not small cats, but not big cats. They were I think they're like just outside of small cats and sort of like in the middle group. Because cheetahs, they don't have, and of course, streamlined like huge lungs to do that. They lost the ability to roar because they're like, we don't need, roaring, that could use air. We need air to like fuel our body for running. Don't need to be loud if you can run fast. So, snip, no roaring. Now they actually make chirping sounds that sound like birds. That's extremely smart in my opinion, because then that allows them to be a little closer to predatory animals and go unnoticed. Like, for example, you could have a family of cheetahs that are right next to a lion pride, and they could be, instead of doing like roaring, chirping, lions would just think it's birds. They wouldn't care. And the cheetahs can still like slowly and unnoticeably get out of the way of the lion pride, and they'd have no clue as to what's happening. Oh my gosh, it hurt. So you have a whole lot of little tiny things that really built up to this amazingly specific and specified animal. And that leads to another problem, is if one thing changes, that can knock the whole animal out of whack. For example, let's say, remember when I said that they don't have really the turning ability in their wrists because of the bones starting to fuse together. Well, that also means it's like they have to make wide turns rather than quick, sharp turns. Well, let's say the climate in Africa changes, in the savannah changes, and trees start to grow. There's way more trees than you think, so the grasslands actually become smaller, so they become a little bit more wooded. the cheetah would have almost no chance of survival because it can't move through the trees to hunt as it would if it was open grassland. That's just how it goes. And with that, it wouldn't be able to eat. So it'd either have to change the whole not eating what you don't kill, or it would have to go extinct. Those are its two options. And another loss that cheetahs made to become another loss in becoming fastest is you need a lot of cooldown time. For example, after a cheetah makes a kill, as I said, 37 seconds to run or its heart gives out, it can't eat for the next 45 minutes. That's 45 very important minutes, but it has to take that time just to cool down. Because if it starts to eat, its body is still running at the super speed, like super high rate. It's like, okay, go, but it can't move that fast, or it's gonna die. So it has to spend 45 minutes just cooling down before it can even eat. Now in that 45 minutes, let's say a vulture's flying over, sees a kill, and it's like, hey, that's food for me. It can come down, and let's say 1 vulture comes, 5 vultures come, 10 vultures come, jackals start coming, and a hyena comes. All of that could legitimately happen within an hour, and all before the cheetah can really get up the strength to actually start eating. And by the time a few vultures are there, that leaves a visual alarm for other predators in the area, like, hey, something killed. I don't have to waste energy to go make my own kill. I can just go over there and eat what they killed. So it's a very delicate thing, but cheetahs are delicate animals, so they can't really handle the big fights for food that most other animals have. Normally, they'll even give up their own kills if a whole bunch of vultures show up. So the cheetah really doesn't have a lot going for it physically. They have a lot going for them physically, but also leaves a lot of space physically, because they evolved so much to speed in grassland. They became specified hunters, and specified hunters do the best and the worst. And I say that because they do the best at where they are, because they specified for whatever they're doing. They're like, I've got that. That is specifically what I'm going to do. But as soon as one thing changes, they're the first ones to go away, because they weren't specified for that. They spent all this time doing this to get here, and this to get here, and this to get here, that once, let's say, this one goes away, they can't survive. They can't do anything. Well, I really hope this was very educational, and I'm going to have to call this the end. Say goodbye to the little fishies. Yeah, she's still not impressed. She is not impressed. I have my female programming in the corner, and she is not impressed at all by this. I don't think she enjoys me sitting in front of the tank, but I kind of decided to do a video right here because I got more fish. You guys will be seeing them in a minute. I'm going to record a video about them in a second, but I got more fish, and I'm so happy. So please like, comment, subscribe, share. Tell me what animals that you think I should do next. I mean, one idea that I got already was to do bats. I love bats. I mean, they're amazing animals to me. I can't get enough of them. So yeah, just leave a comment on whatever animal you'd like to see, or even if you have another idea for a different type of video, just tell me. It seems interesting, you know. Always up for new things. And have a wonderful day. See ya.